All right, let's quickly do this. Now, remember when I said to you guys that there's not that much to analyze in this cinematic, all right? And I stick to that. Now, I could obviously sit here and I could point out the exact color schemes, and I could point out the exact weapons being used, and I could point out some of the liberties that was taken. Fundamentally, this is lore accurate, and this is lore that we know. None of this is news to us. The one thing that I will say that caught me a little bit off guard is this part over here.
When we are young, we are taught to revere the light. But when I turn to it, I see only fire.
I will say, though, I like the fact that they're showing her as being alone. It's very reminiscent of Illidan. I don't know if you guys have caught the same sort of vibes. Very much an Illidan-esque kind of feeling to it, where Illidan also pretty much sacrificed everything, including everyone he loved, so that he could save Azeroth. And it gives a similar feel.
The fire of pain, of loss, the choices I made.
I think this is gonna be... Man, look at me, saying there's not a lot of things to analyze, and here we are. Okay, guys, strap the fuck in. Things are about to get real. Yes, there's a lot of... there are things that I want to talk about. I think it's important that you recognize the light and her saying, I see only fire. In other words, I see only hurt, I see only pain. The light is the reason she has had to leave everything she loves behind. And what she's literally referring to is Turalyon and the elves. The elves will not allow Alleria anywhere near Silvermoon. And once the one time they let her in, they basically had soldiers walking behind her because of what happened at the Sunwell. They do not trust her. They hate her. Because they not hate her, but they don't trust her because they don't know what is inside of her and how that is going to react. So she's lost everything as a result of the light. And I think, well, she hasn't really lost her son, Moni. I will say, if you read her short story, her relationship with Arator has nothing to do with the light or even with the void. It's the fact that Arator has never known her, right? Like, he doesn't know her. So their relationship is a little bit more stiff because they're getting to know each other, but she's constantly out because she can't be around Turalyon for too long, because I don't know if you guys saw in this very cinematic, when they touch, it's kind of painful for the both of them. Because, well, he's pure light and she's pure void. So obviously not a fun experience for either of them. Maybe just signaling what is to come in this expansion, or maybe in the next.
Quel'Thalas. Home. Until the Horde threatened everything. My family was sworn to protect it. And protect it we did.
I just want to say, in this particular instance, it should be noted that while from Alleria's point of view, the orcs and the trolls, evil, bad guys, it should be noted that if you play Horde in the early days of World of Warcraft, it is the elves that are hunting and slaughtering the trolls relentlessly. So the trolls are simply fighting back because it is the elves that settle in troll lands and then start killing the trolls. There's a massive battle between the trolls and the elves, and it's a battle that wages and wages and wages. As a result of the elves moving into what the trolls consider to be ancestral lands. their lands, in fact. So it's kind of interesting that from her perspective, the trolls are trying to invade their homeland when the trolls are literally thinking the same thing. You guys came into our fucking forest and now you're killing us as a result of you taking our forest. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out.
When Sylvanas and I fought together, we fought as one.
Dude, that's a very, very interesting analogy. When Sylvanas and I fought together, we fought as one. Suggesting, I think, highlighting the bond that existed between Alleria and Sylvanas, but also perhaps signaling to a return of Sylvanas. And I would argue Sylvanas' return will come at the moment that Alleria is about to lose herself to the void. This is when Sylvanas will return, and Sylvanas will be the one to bring her sister back. Literally from the precipice of becoming full-blown void creature, it'll be Sylvanas that brings her back. Because while, yes, Verisa is their sister, Alleria and Sylvanas have pretty much always shared a very, very strong bond. She just says it here. When we fought as one. Like, they felt each other. They didn't have to speak. They just knew what they were doing. So, I think it is signaling something that is to come.
But the conflict here was growing, pulling my sister and I apart.
The fire here is just, I mean, fuck. You want to talk about imagery? Anyone that doesn't know anything about the lore, of course, just thinks this is a fire. But for those of us that know, those of us that were there, I can say proudly I was on the beach that day, and I was actually the one screaming at the top of my lungs to fire alongside my lady Sylvanas. And to the night elves in chat, you can go fuck yourselves. The tree looks better now than it did before. So I'm not sorry about this. No, it has always and ever will be one of the stupidest storylines in World of Warcraft's history. But it is what it is. I was there when that tree bud, so you know it's all right. It was corrupted anyway. Yeah, we did them a fucking favor. I don't know why they're so angry at us. Eddie Vanier, he is not wrong. It actually looks like a tree now. Stringfield, yeah. I mean, no matter how you slice it, we did you guys a favor. Jade's Honor, how you doing? We were there 3,000 years ago. Exactly. But yeah, I love the fact that they're using this fire as this is the thing that splits Xalatath and Sylvanas apart, because it literally was then the thing that drove them apart, according to Alleria's sort of memories. But then also, it is the thing that ultimately split them, right? It's the thing that ultimately drove them apart to the point where even Alleria believed that Sylvanas is just completely evil, is when she burnt Teldrassil.
How can you leave? You would choose the Alliance over...
Is that Patty Matson? Has someone been able to confirm that? Because it kind of, but also not. I don't know. It kind of, but also not. Like, there's something wrong with the accent. Unless Patty Matson was purposefully trying to make her sound younger and obviously much less dead. Because if you listen to the accent, it sounds similar, but there's a marked difference between them.
You leave. You would choose the Alliance over Quell the Loss.
Quell the Loss. She's never said it that way, unless she forgot the accent because she hasn't spoken in a while. Quell the Loss. That she's me, bro. I just want to say, like, this is the weirdest pronunciation of Quel'Thalas I've ever heard in my life. Is that now the official pronunciation of Quel'Thalas? Is that how we're officially supposed to say that? Or do you think this was just an oopsie?
When you leave, you would choose the Alliance over Quel'Thalas, our home.
It's not just our kingdom at risk. If the Horde isn't beaten back, others will fall. I have to go.
But you're abandoning your family.
I am doing this for our family. I lost a sister that day. Had I known that my actions would force Sylvanas to her fate, would I have chosen differently?
Right.
I left my home to fight this war to the end. I had no idea how far away that fight would take me.
I will say, though, I don't like the insinuation, but we can look... I should probably just mention this. For anyone that may have picked up here, that Alleria suggests that the fact that she left is why Sylvanas penultimately became a Banshee. I'm really hoping that this is just from her perspective, and this whole thing is told from her perspective, so that is how I'm taking it, because it is not the case. Even if Alleria stayed, she would have been a Banshee too. Let's be honest, even two Windrunner sisters would not have stopped Arthas on that day. If you go back and you actually read the history of that war, you'll understand there was nothing to be done. After every single battle, Arthas would literally just raise all of his fallen soldiers and then raise all of their dead ones. So his army was fucking literally growing as the battle was going on. So eventually he would have just been able to walk them down. So they would always lose that war. So her staying, I wouldn't say surrendered Sylvanas to her fate. It basically just meant that she wasn't turning into a Banshee as well. But I think this is just from her perspective. She thinks that if she stayed, she could have done something. She could have helped. She could have saved her sister somehow. But, you know, will that make her stay? Will you? If you know 100% something will happen, you will always have doubts. It is possible, Holy, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention it.
Yet despite the war, I found my life's true love, Turalyon. And together we fought side by side. Until we became three. But beyond the boundaries of our world, our enemies grew powerful.
Dude, they should make Turalyon this fucking tanky in the game as well. Like, in the game, he's just a human with some, like, armor. They should make Turalyon this big fuck-off tank of a human being in the game as well. Like, he looks so much more intimidating in this story than he does in the game. In the game, he just looks like a guy that went fucking nuts with the golden spray paint. Whereas here, he actually looks like a unit of a guy.
You can make your stand here. Why risk marching into the unknown?
Our only choice is to take the fight to them before it's too late. Should we not succeed,
I will keep him safe. Just come back.
We'll return before you know it, Eritor.
had I known that I would
Done
not see
again,
my
yes.
son again until he was a man himself, would I have still left?
If you understand why they look a little bit older, so I see a lot of people mentioning it, so I'll respond here. She is remembering these events. So she is obviously remembering herself and Turalyon as they are. Right? Not as they were. You know, like quickly think back to yourself as a child. You don't really think of yourself as a child, right? You don't think back to yourself as how you looked when you were 13 or 14. To your mind, you look the same, right? So that's why they appear older, because this is her memories. We're basically seeing her memories. That's what's happening here.
I had given everything for this fight. The only thing left to give was myself. There was no other way. In order to defeat the...
I am a little peeved, and I will mention this, that they didn't show the Army of the Light stuff. I thought that would have been such a cool moment in this, and I was kind of looking forward to it during the reaction. When I first saw this, I was like, oh goody, we're gonna finally fucking see it. For those of you that don't know the story, allow me to explain. Alleria and Turalyon is caught on Outland. They stay behind in Outland to make sure that no one else, none of the demons make it through to Azeroth. But they get stuck on Outland as the portal closes. And then what ends up happening is there are portals basically opening and closing everywhere. So they pick a portal and they jump through as Outland is disintegrating under their feet. They just jump through. They jump into the Twisting Nether, and it is then here that they join up with the Army of the Light. Turalyon obviously accepts the Light, becomes a soldier of the Army of the Light. This, by the way, saves his life because the Light basically gives him eternal life so that he doesn't die inside the Twisting Nether. I mean, it is here that then she... I should explain... Okay, I'll explain in a second.
Darkness. I had to embrace it. So embrace...
All right, this is the moment that I've seen a lot of people go, what the fuck? Blizzard is just retconning the story that they themselves wrote in Legion. No, Blizzard is not. Okay, so how exactly does Xal'atath become infected by the Void? We played the storyline where this happened to her, right? We saw the memories of this happening to her. But how do I explain this? At the time, she had simply been introduced to the power of the Void. She is not yet... she has not yet accepted the power of the Void. What this is signifying is the moment that she embraced that power. That's what this is signifying. It's the moment that she embraces this power. It's not... This isn't the moment that, you know, they're not retconning where she first sort of started to encounter the Void. That's not what they're doing here. Voisin is insane. I love the color. She is pure energy. In Turalyon's eyes, an act of evil. Well, yeah, of course. You can imagine. From Turalyon's perspective, he, a being of pure light now, remember he was accepted into the Army of the Light. He is light incarnate. To him, the Void, and you know this, Xal'atath says this to us, right? Xal'atath says this to us. The Light regards the Void as monsters to be resisted. But of course, the Void doesn't share that view. So you can imagine, from Turalyon's perspective, she has just become a monster to him, right? And no, this is a random Legion world. This is while they're fighting for the Army of the Light. The problem, of course, for Alleria was that even though the Light kept offering her a place among them, she did not take to the Light. Not anywhere near... Like, Turalyon instantly went, ooh, Light, yeah, touch my penis. She was a lot less interested in being touched by any of the Naru. So, yeah, she ultimately saw Locust Walker and she was like, he can touch me any day. But, you know, that's all different story.
He said I did.
Ronan, you could say that, although I'm not sure I would agree. Because I more and more think that Xal'atath is a being of pure void, and that Xal'atath wasn't once mortal that became void. But I would like to point out that there is still an outside perspective here. I wonder how many of you are instantly going to go, Accolonn, fuck this, I'm out. I don't want to talk to you ever again. I'll risk it. I would like to point out a theory that I've had for a while now. I made a video on this theory. I'm not going to elaborate on this at all. But I am going to say, when you start to put all of the evidence together, there appears to be a very unique chance that Xal'atath is Alleria. Alleria is Xal'atath. Once Alleria becomes full void, so once Locust Walker convinces Alleria to embrace the void fully, Alleria becomes Xal'atath. This is the moment that Alleria is born. And when Xal'atath arrives in Orgrimmar and says they will pay for what was done to me so very long ago, what she is referring to is that once Alleria becomes Xal'atath, in a desperate attempt to try and save her, Turalyon banishes her into the blade of the Black Empire in order to preserve her. And this blade then skips through time all the way back in time, and it basically starts the cycle over again. So it's like a cyclical lifestyle that Alleria follows. Just wanted to throw that out there because I made a video on it. And I go through a lot more of the evidence in that video if you want to check that out. I can't remember what the fucking name is of the video, but it is on the channel. So I did make a video sort of connecting all of these different points together and showing that it is possible.
But at what cost? Turalyon, who had known me, loved me, fought beside me. Now,
Nordic, not really. None of the lore we've gotten up until this point refutes the theory that Alleria and Xal'atath is in fact one in any way, shape, or form. Because all Xal'atath is Alleria from a different timeline. So Xal'atath is Alleria's story playing itself out. This is why when Alleria keeps showing, when Xal'atath keeps showing Alleria visions of how Turalyon will act, and the things that Turalyon will say to her, Xal'atath isn't showing her these visions to play with her. Xal'atath is showing Alleria her own visions. Like, Xal'atath is literally showing Alleria what happened to her. When she accepted the void, what did Turalyon do to her? So Xal'atath, the Xal'atath that you see currently in our timeline, isn't from our timeline. She came from a different timeline. And basically, she continuously moved from timeline to timeline to timeline in order to bring about the Void Lord's return. So when they fail in one of the timelines, they move to the next timeline and the next timeline and the next timeline. And what we're seeing now is the literal creation of Xal'atath. So the Alleria storyline, what we're about to see is how Xal'atath is created. So that's the theory, in a nutshell. How does Sylvanas' redemption play in your thing? No, Sylvanas' redemption is if we don't take that theory. Now, it is important to understand how I speculate. And I should make this clear. Unlike many other content creators, it is very rare that you will watch a speculation video from me and where I will use my own speculations to speculate a little bit more. The only time I will do that is if I am 100% convinced that my theory is correct. But more often than not, when I do a video, it's because I have a specific speculation theory based on the established lore as it exists right now. And then I share that. But I always reset to the base lore. In other words, the accepted lore in World of Warcraft. So the theory about Sylvanas' redemption arc and how that plays into Alleria's storyline and how she saves Alleria is in the official storyline where Alleria and Xal'atath are not the same being, nor will Alleria ever become Xal'atath. So it is important to understand that. I tend to shy away from building theories upon theories because, in my opinion, at what point do you have so many theories underlying your theory that now you're just creating fan fiction? So that's why I always try to start from, this is the baseline lore, and based on this baseline lore, here is my speculation. And then next video, whatever this speculation was, that's in that video. This is a new video. So that speculation doesn't matter for this video. This video starts from baseline lore and goes from here into whatever speculation theory I have. I'm not saying it's wrong to do it the other way around. There's people that do it phenomenally well. Like Pyro does it really, really well. Doran's movie does it really, really well, where they create speculation theories upon speculation theories. That's not how I speculate. I prefer to sort of start baseline and move my way up there. But it's sort of different strokes for different folks, right? Everyone likes it differently. And it's fine either way. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to do it.
Now saw me differently.
What have you done?
The shadow, it saved us.
No.
That violent reaction is insane. It shows you. She is a creature of void now. He is a creature of light. And it shows you maybe why the Titans believed that the light and the void reacting to each other is what created the Twisting Nether. Because you can see it is violent. Right? It is a very violent reaction that you get when these two entities touch. Soren, welcome, bro. Happy to have you here.
I would rather have died than see you fall to evil.
Turalyon didn't understand, but I could not fault him. If I had known that embracing the shadow would push him away, would I have sought another path? No. All of the things I did for a reason. War is sacrifice. And I have sacrificed everything to protect those I love. To keep them safe. And if it takes sacrificing myself to protect our world.
Can I just say,
Look at to this. Protect our world.
Dude, okay. How many more times do you guys... Rich, how you doing, bro? How many more times do you guys need evidence to recognize that the Child of Light and Shadow is no one other than Arator? In the short story, when I said that Arator is the Child of Light and Shadow, I had so many people saying, no, bro, it isn't. It's too obvious. It's too obvious. Is this too obvious too? Like, is this too obvious too?
Our world.
Dude, look at what they're doing. Like, Blizzard is basically handing us this fucking storyline on a silver platter. The Child of Light and Shadow. You have the light on the one side, the shadow on the other side. So clearly, the Child of Light and Shadow. I don't know. Annie has the dragon tattoos now. That is also Light and Shadow. So I don't know if anyone is still arguing that it's not him. Excuse me. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. There's nuance all the time. Stephanie, Blizzard is always very specific about their choices in these matters. They wouldn't do this unless they have a very good reason for doing it, right? I think at midnight, the Light and the Void might be both after him to claim him. He is the prophesied child. In fact, he might even lead the Arathi, after which emperor he's named. Arator is definitely a character they could build up, in my opinion as well. Rose Fox, how you doing? But what if it's Anduin and Arator? No, I don't think it's Anduin at all. I don't think that prophecy was about Anduin. I think Anduin has his own path, but I don't think... So, okay. I think Denuzer wanted to set Anduin up to be the Child of Light and Shadow. I think Mason changed that. I think Mason has a different plan for Anduin because we only ever saw the setup to Anduin once, and that was right at the end of not before the storm, the Shadowlands book, Shadows Rising. Right at the end of Shadows Rising is the only time we see the void starting in the palm of Anduin's hand and moving up to his shoulder, or moving from his shoulder down into the palm of his hand and dissipating. But since then, it's never been shown again. Ever. Whatever void influence exists within Anduin, they've never even played on that again. So I have a feeling that idea was completely let go. They were like, nah, never mind. We don't care about that at all. I think Arator is the one that they really want for this.
I will not hesitate. I am a soldier of Azeroth.
Perhaps Anduin is shattered enough to show it now in The War Within. I personally, it just makes so much sense for it to be Arator. Because Arator literally is the child of light and shadow. With Turalyon representing the light and Alleria representing the shadow. And remember that the prophecy is that the child of light and shadow will end the war. So the war that's been waging or raging between the light and the void, it is the child of light and shadow that brings an end to that war. Now the light believes that they should claim this child so that they can win the war. The void arguably probably believes exactly the same thing. Claim the child so that we can win the war. I think they're both completely misunderstanding that lore. Ryan, how you doing, bro? Thanks for the $5, man. Really appreciate you. Thank you. Do you think Arator will live up to his title and redeem his parents and possibly create a bridge between the light and the void through his parents? Yeah, Ryan, you were just talking about this. Well, I still appreciate the money, bro. Thank you for the support. Really appreciate it. And it goes a fucking long way to supporting the channel when you guys donate and give super chats and become members and all the rest of it. So I really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. But Ryan, yes. Fundamentally, in my view, the light misunderstands the prophecy. Because the prophecy is that the child of light and shadow will bring an end to the war. Not that the child of light and shadow will favor one side over the other. So the child of light and shadow might bring balance between the two. That would be my guess on that. But fundamentally, I've now sort of gone through the cinematic. I've shared everything I wanted to share with you guys in this cinematic. I thought it was important to at least cover, the basics of this, even though this is established lore, and nothing in this entire cinematic should come as a new thing to anyone that knows the lore. There are still some things that I thought was interesting.